what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
One of the best things about cooking barbecue low and slow in the Carolinas is watching the faces of family and friends and customers when they take that first savory bite of what you prepared. After you spend countless hours preparing, cooking, serving up your best barbecue, nothing's better than seeing someone's face when the flavor hits the tongue. For a barbecue pitmaster, it's hard to beat the feeling when you hear someone say, "Ooh, that's so good." Of course, the experience only gets better if you're among a community of your barbecue peers when you wow all those taste buds and spill sauce on your fingers and shirt fronts. That's why when the weather starts to warm around the country, spring barbecue festivals start to fill your calendar. From Memphis in May to the Lexington Barbecue Festival in October, if you try real hard, you can spend most weekends either competing, serving, judging, tasting, or just enjoying the best barbecue cooked low and slow. And naturally, the best of that barbecue is right here in North Carolina. So on this episode of the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, we're excited to welcome someone who's not only the barbecue pitmaster at Sweet Lou's Barbecue in Charlotte. Lewis Sweet Lou Donald is also the founder of the Carolina Barbecue Festival, now in its second year of celebrating the heritage of whole hog barbecue. I'm Chigger Willard, and I can't wait to talk to our guest about barbecue for a cause and the Carolina Barbecue Festival. We're also going to talk about Sweet Lou's barbecue specialty and his favorite recipes. Our guest is going to give us some of his secrets of preparing great barbecue and where to find it. And of course, we're going to speed up the low and slow to get to our guest's take on the best sauce, the best wood, and the best cooking methods in the barbecue showdown. Before we meet our guest, special thanks to our sponsor. That's Hickory Greenway Harvest. They build raised bed gardens to fight hunger and feed a need for greater awareness about agriculture and sustainability in North Carolina's Hickory Metro. Of course, it's almost planting season, so it's a great time to find out how to volunteer or donate. You can do that at hickorygreenwayharvest.org. And remember to get the complete lowdown for the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Be sure to visit us online. lowslowbbqshow.com. That'll take you to it. That's where you'll find the Low and Slow blog. It's filled with recipes from this podcast, as well as barbecue stories, ideas, and more advice for low and slow barbecue. You'll also get a recipe and tips from today's guest who we're going to meet right now. I'm delighted to welcome Lewis Donald to the podcast. Again, Lewis is the pitmaster of Sweet Lou's Barbecue in the Belmont neighborhood of Charlotte, and he's the founder of the Carolina Barbecue Festival, which is coming up on May 7th at Camp North End. Welcome to the podcast, Lewis.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're definitely glad to have you. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Carolina Barbecue Festival. And of course, tickets are on sale now. But before we get into all that, I want to carve into Sweet Lou's a little bit. How long have you guys been open, and how'd you get involved in doing this?
We opened in December of 2018 here in the Belmont neighborhood. The short version, we're still here, right? So we made it through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Bills are paid. People are fed, and that's all that matters right now. Got plenty of staff, so we're rocking and rolling. Still growing, still evolving, and, adding covered patios and heaters and more TVs and just continuing to grow into the space. We opened as a very small shop, and since then, like I said, we've added food trucks, we've added catering trucks and trailers and all those things. So things are still going very well.
Wow, that's great stuff. And I understand it's just in the Belmont neighborhood that's really kind of coming into a reemergence and starting to get some exciting stuff. And y'all are there at the corner of Belmont and Harrell, right?
Yep. So we're right here in the heart. At least that's what we consider the heart, right? So we've got a bottle shop. We've got a burger joint. We've got a old school video game bar down the road. We've got churches. We've got plenty of families, and we've got a little park here. So we're in what we call, and it's a neighborhood. It's it's residential with a little bit of commercial sprinkled in. So it's very nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. You can find out about Sweet Lou's online at sweetlousbbq.com. And they're open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 9, Sunday, 11 to 6. And like a lot of places that are closed on Monday, can't argue much with that. But tell me, Lewis, how did you get into doing barbecue? How'd you get into doing this before you even opened a restaurant?
For me, I've traveled a little bit in my life, not much, but moved around a lot cooking. I'm a classically trained cook. I did 2 formal apprenticeships, one in Atlanta at a country club, and then the ladder at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. I graduated there in '07. And then I did mostly country clubs and resorts. But my time in West Virginia at the Greenbrier, we did a lot of barbecue. And it wasn't always, brisket, ribs, pork. Sometimes it was a little more elevated with, smoked quail and smoked lobster tails and stuff like that, smoked scallops.
Wow. Smoked whale. That's fancy.
But to me, barbecue is a cooking method, right? It's not necessarily a dish. So fire management and all those kinds of things is what barbecue is to me. So that's where I really started learning from a guy by the name of Ken Hess, who now owns his own shop in Lynchburg, Virginia. Shout out to County Smoke. He'll be at our barbecue festival. But he really instilled a lot of those early on bugs for me to this is fun, this is cool. And then having been here in Charlotte for 9-10 years before I opened up, it was something that I felt we could fill a void. We're not a restaurant. We're a barbecue shop. We're no tableside service. It's counter service. Wait in line. Wait your turn. You come up front. Know what you want. Be ready. No frills. And pounds of pork, pounds of brisket, bags of buns, and red slaw going out the door.
Yeah, that's the legit kind of place we're looking for, a barbecue joint. And of course, Lewis is recording our podcast here from his restaurant there now in the Belmont neighborhood. And Lewis, I visited your website, and there you kind of hints at one of the things you mentioned. It says Sweet Lou's is the answer to a question that has plagued Charlotte. Where can you go around here for a real North Carolina barbecue experience? So now my question to you, Sweet Lou, is what is a real North Carolina barbecue experience?
I think simplicity and just good people around you, right? So we cook with wood. We season with salt and pepper. We don't do anything fancy. Vinegar-based sauce for sure. Red slaw all the way. And again, you can come here. You can get a cold cheer wine, a hot pork sandwich on a nice bun. I don't know what else you need.
Wow, my mouth's watering already. So let's get a little bit more into your specialty there. What are you known for there?
I was thinking about that question this morning as I was getting ready for this. And, I feel in a lot of ways, what Charlotte's become, which is so far away from North Carolina, is a brisket town, right? So all the other barbecue restaurants in town, while they all do a wonderful job, their main focus, everybody's main focus is brisket, burn ends, dino beef ribs, brisket tacos, brisket nachos, brisket this, that. North Carolina has a pork barbecue.
Right, we're hog state.
That's right. And we don't have any whole hog cookery here in the city anymore, which is part of why we do our festival the way we do it. And that's, for me, I'm not going to say that pork is my specialty or anything like that, but I think that's the one I enjoy the most, right? Because I know that that's what I built Sweet Lou's for, was to be putting out pounds of pork, bags of buns, and red slaw for families to enjoy for generations.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, is that the only thing on your menu, or do you also have the brisket and some of the other sausage and stuff?
Of course I do. Yeah, no, we make our own sausage. We do turkey breast, half chickens. We do wings, ribs, brisket. Those are our standards every day. And then we fluff in, pork belly bites, or we might do lamb ribs here and there, beef back ribs, dino ribs on occasion. Some of those other cuts we focus more as a once a month type thing. But you can count on coming in here. And we have 7 or 8 meats at all times.
That's great. Now, so the pork, maybe you like to lean toward as a traditional thing. What's the most popular among your guests, your audience? What do they like the best?
Brisket.
The brisket. Well, we'll move on there. Let's talk about the sides. What all kinds of sides? Again, saw the website and all kinds of stuff. Pictures. Looks like a lot of great things. What are the best sides and the most popular sides you serve?
I mean, obviously, just being barbecue and comfort food and all that kind of stuff. We're heavy into the collard greens and mac and cheese. So, we might cook on an average week 160 pounds of dry noodles for our mac and cheese. Collard greens, we work with a local farmer out of South Carolina, uh, Bradford Watermelon Farms. We buy our
Hmm.
collards from him. We might do upwards of 120 pounds of those. And the thing about our collards is that we make a pork stock with all our pork bones, and then that's what we start our collards with, and then we season them with what we call seasoning, right? We season them with a couple city buses going through the neighborhood. Here we go.
That's right. You're in the hood.
That's right. That's what we love about it.
That's right.
We use our rib ends and pieces from the cutting block from that day's service
Oh, yeah.
and throw those in with our collards. So I think for us, it's collards, mac, and then red slaw after that. We do
Gotcha.
offer, boiled peanuts, Brunswick stew, South Carolina style hash and rice. So we do dive a little bit deep into everything.
Wow. Boiled peanuts. You don't see that an awful lot around here.
Nah, mostly gas stations.
Hey, sometimes you get the best stuff at the gas stations
know.
or on the side of the road, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that pork meat that you like to produce. For you, when you go and get some and y'all are putting it in there, tell me the ideal size and how you guys are cooking it and preparing it, what you cook it over, and tell me a little bit about what that process looks like.
So I use a Meyer mixing smoker. So it is a water cooker, right? But it's all wood, no gas or electricity. So what we do is we do skin side up, whole shoulders, and we cook them. We run our smoker between 225 and 250, and we just pull them, let them rest. We wrap in plastic and hold them in a CVAP overnight at 150.
Okay, and they just fall right apart.
And just pull right apart, and you can get the bones come out easily. Obviously, we save the skins. We'll cut those up and fry them and sell them as bags of skins.
Oh,
Nobody in town does that. That's for sure.
yeah.
And then we'll also. Sorry, I got to replug in real quick. Thursday's a good admin day. So then what we'll do is we hold the shoulders skin side up at 150 degrees overnight, and then when we come in, we can pull those muscles apart better to blend in the lean and the fatty pork as a better product.
Okay, that's good. So you let that 150 overnight really makes a difference in how you prepare it and serve it up. That's an interesting tip. I'm not sure everybody does that either.
Well, I think if you do research on a lot of the, some of the restaurants out in, I'm just going to use Texas as an example right now, but, when you're cooking 160 briskets a day, nobody's pulling those off at 9 a.m. and serving them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't mix. So I took some of those tips, if you will, and tricks that they did, used some of my formal background. Letting that meat rest properly is probably the number one mistake people make.
Yeah.
When they're barbecuing at home. Cutting into those meats or pulling those meats too soon is what releases all those juices and dries out your meat real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks it's real cool for Instagram to press those juices out of your brisket when you slice it. I don't think that gives you the best product.
Right. All that flavor is squeezing out every time you push down, right?
Yeah, it's gone. All the moistness,
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of wood do you normally like to use?
We use a hickory, oak, and pecan combination.
All right. Like to hear that hickory and oak and pecan, definitely. Nice to find around. What about the rub? Do you prepare it and season it in advance?
So we do salt and pepper only.
Okay. Why just those two things?
That's for our pork and our brisket because we feel those are the main standouts. When you do chicken, you need a little bit. So we do have our signature rub that we use for our chicken and for our ribs. It's more of not your traditional barbecue rub. It's got a little bit more spice to it probably than most. Mm-hmm. No sugar. I don't use any sugar. And we brine our chickens ahead of time in pickle juice, pickle juice and water. Yep. And then as well as our turkey breasts. And then the ribs, we just clean them up, trim them, and rub them right before they go on.
Now, what about sauces? You mentioned vinegar-based. Do you make the other stuff available for all those other people?
Yes, but we do it our way. Everything's vinegar-based.
Okay, good deal. So you talked a little bit about how you serve them up. Again, buy it by the pound. You get a bag of buns and some red slaw, and you're good to go.
That's it. That's the idea.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Barbecue 101, get some of our secrets from the guest, some of his tips. As also, of course, we're going to learn about the Carolina Barbecue Festival as well, and we'll have the Low and Slow Barbecue Showdown. Stay tuned after the break.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Welcome back to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, sponsored by Hickory Greenway Harvest. I'm Chigger Willard. I'm here with Lewis Donald from Sweet Lou's. And again, he's the pitmaster there in the Belmont neighborhood of Charlotte. And he's also the founder of the Carolina Barbecue Festival. And that's going to be coming up on May 7th at Camp North End in Charlotte. You can learn more about the festival and get tickets at carolinabbqfest.org. So Lewis, tell us about the festival. How'd you get started doing this, I guess, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, last year was our first year. So, I travel around quite a bit, going to other barbecue festivals, and always have a lot of fun, right? I think they're important because they're community, and that's what barbecue is to me.
Yeah.
And for me, being a small business owner, one of my biggest goals has always been to give back. And, that's not always in the cards for small businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is tried to enlist a bunch of my friends to come in and help me out to give back to our communities. And that's really what it started with. I tried to find a way of how can I give back in and I don't care the size of denominations, but, in a true impact where everybody comes together. And they know that day, what they're doing is going to a good cause. And I think growing up, when I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and we always had, fish fries and spaghetti dinners to do that. But we're in the South now, so we have to do barbecue, right?
That's right.
And, we're in a larger city, so we have a captive audience for that kind of stuff. And definitely great venues around the city to hold those types of things. Camp North End is our venue this year. They were last year as well. Just allows for a lot of people to get together and have fun.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, tell us a little bit more about the BBQ for a Cause and what the festival's supporting. I understand My Hill Charlotte was the charity sort of at the top of the list this year. So tell us a little bit about that and maybe any of the other organizations that you guys will be supporting.
Yeah, so last year we had World Central Kitchen, Operation Barbecue Relief, and our local Piedmont Culinary Guild. And we were able to donate back a little over 25% of our total budget went to them, right?
Yeah.
So that was a great feat. That's why we decided to do year two. This year, My Hill Charlotte, and I just met with them right before this podcast here. They're an organization here that's been here since 2016. They do a lot of great work in our neighborhood, especially with current times, right? So he does a lot of stop the violence work. He does a lot of work with kids, transitional homes for single parents, just always out there doing work. And one of his biggest statements to me when he and I met early on, because we've done a lot of little stuff together throughout the years, but if everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot, right?
Yeah.
So if everybody, if everybody uses their blinkers, there won't be traffic, right? So he's our main benefactor this year. And then we're going to donate back to Piedmont Culinary Guild here again locally. We're going to donate back to World Central Kitchen, Operation Barbecue Relief. And then we brought in another partner. The barbecue community is so huge, and there's a lot of people out there doing really, really great work. So Southern Soul Barbecue down there in St. Simon, Georgia, I've had the opportunity and pleasure to meet those guys and hang out with those guys. And they have their Firebox initiative, which is a one time a year. They do a big event down there. I've had the opportunity to go. I think this year I'll be cooking in it, which is an honor, with my buddy Brian Furman. but they do really good work, and I'd love to, we're just gonna, take a piece of our donation and give them some money as well, because they do a lot of work with restaurant workers in their area. Things happen to restaurant workers. A lot of us don't have health care and all those types of things. Obviously, the last 18 months, 24 months, a lot of things have changed for the restaurant industry, and all that's becoming part of it. But they're there if you can't pay your bills. They're there if you need to buy a new car. They're there if, and having those funds available. And I just think it's important. And, it's a selfish thing for me to be able to try and help everybody I can. Right.
Yeah, no, that's not selfish at all. That's a good thing. Try to help other people. And again, those charities that you're helping, My Hill Charlotte, as well as the Piedmont Culinary Guild, Operation Barbecue Relief, World Central Kitchen, and the Firebox Initiative, great stuff. And again, you said last year, 25% of your total budget went back to your charitable causes. So I got to assume last year, and you're back for year two, last year must have been successful. How did it really go overall?
Well, I think that's the proof in the pudding, right? I had a couple of people with me that were willing to take a risk and a flyer. We raised a little bit of money on some sponsorship. We got some in-kind trades all over the city. People letting us use space over at Camp North End. They work real well with us. So we worked with a local brewery, linen companies and trash companies, all those things that you need, right, to make this thing happen. Everybody came together and rallied through us. And then I had two people helping me organize it and getting it ready, right? But we took a flyer on it, and it came out really well, and everybody was really happy. And I think that those two people that have been with me from day one have the same feeling and sentiment that I do. Like, look, it went well last year. We were able to donate a great amount of money, I think, for this size festival. Let's make it bigger and donate more.
Fantastic. So what do you feel like you learned during that first year, and how do you apply those lessons during this year's festival?
Well, the first thing we learned was we got to start before January to get this thing off the ground by May, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we started a lot earlier this year, and we got things rolling. But I think the biggest thing that I learned from last year is that it's possible, right? It's possible to get, 450, 550 people all together one day, sell the tickets and donate back. And one of our biggest things is all these guys that come in with me, like, they don't come out of pocket for anything. So as small business owners themselves, man, you can't ask people to do things for free all the time. So being able to take care of them and take care of everything else is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And so this year, May 7th, the day of the event, going to be 14 pitmasters, 10 different tasting stations all around the event, whole hog, brisket, chicken, hash and rice, plenty more. So of those 14 pitmasters are going to be coming up to Charlotte for the event from North and South Carolina. How do you pick these? How do you pick these pitmasters to come and do their thing?
They're people that I've met along the way that are like-minded folks. There are people I've met along the way that, they're all special in their own way to me as a person. And that's why I feel like, hey, if I'm going to ask somebody to do something, which, a lot of people don't like to ask, I don't like to ask people to do things, right?
Yeah.
So I had to ask people that I knew were like-minded and I was close enough with to say, if they say no, it's okay with me. I understand.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just go down an email list and, email people saying, hey, do you want to be a part of this? No, like, these are people that I know, that I've talked to, and that I felt, some of them are smaller businesses that need a good platform. I think that the Carolina Barbecue Festival gives you that. Some of them are people, like I said, that I've just built relationships with over the years, and I know who they are, and they're good people.
Yeah, that's really cool. So of all the ones you had last year, or you have repeat performers and you have new performers?
Yes. So everybody, let's see. Last year we had 6 or 7. One guy's not going to return. He's got a prior commitment. But we do have several others that are going to step up and come in. We've got Michael Letchworth from Sam Jones is coming down. Tank Jackson from Holy City Hogs down in Charleston is going to come up. Who else did we get? We got Ken Hess is coming down from Virginia and County Smoke. Lawrence Barbecue. Jake Wood's coming over. Keith's coming from Black Powder Smokehouse. So, yeah, we added a few more.
Yeah, so you mentioned it. There's a community of pit bosses around the world. There's a lot of camaraderie, I'm sure, that's amongst the folks that you know. You've got these great relationships, but tell the truth. There's got to be just a little bit of competition from all these guys when they show up and serve it and say, who's the best here? Any kind of competition feeling there?
You know what? Between obviously last year and all the festivals that I've been to and behind the scenes of, and probably 6 or 8, I've never run into that, and that's part of it, right?
Oh, okay.
These are guys that aren't competing with each other. These are guys that, you cook your ribs, I cook my ribs. We all serve people, and we all make money. Nobody that's coming to this festival is thinking they're better than anybody else.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, definitely humble. So again, Carolina Barbecue Festival is going to be May 7th, Camp North End. And as you say, it's from the palmettos to the longleaf pines, divided by sauce, united by coal. That's kind of a neat catchphrase that you got there. Again, in Camp North End, tickets are on sale now. You can get those, again, at carolinabbqfest.org. I want to take it back a little bit to the Barbecue 101 here with Lewis and the owner of Sweet Lou's. What is one tip or a one-of-a-kind practice that every barbecuer should try to follow when they're cooking it up?
So I kind of touched on it earlier, and it's one of my things. I mean, everybody that I talk to, and short story, I did a big pig picking for a buddy of mine for the Super Bowl. And in that pig picking, I took out, turkey breast, racks of ribs, beef ribs, wings, all these things, right? And him and his buddies stopped by the day before just to check progress and see what's going on and see the pig and stuff. And he asked me the same thing. And I said, look, man, it's all about the resting period. I really firmly believe that you have to properly rest your meat, wrap your meat, hold your meat. Otherwise, you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're going to spend 12 hours cooking a brisket. You're going to pull it off. You're going to slice into it 30 minutes later, and then you just ruined all the work you did. And then I had the opportunity on Sunday to show him how I wrap all my meats and show up with them in a cooler.
Yeah. And
I said, put your hand in that cooler. He goes, wow, that's pretty hot. I said, yes, exactly.
It's still cooking.
These meats hold their heat for a very, very long time. And if you're letting them, if you're wrapping them too early, then you're not doing it any favor. If you wrap it too late, you're not doing any favors. And then if you don't hold it properly, it's not going to hold its moistness.
Yeah. So is there kind of a rule of thumb for how long you need to rest the meat?
I mean, I rest my briskets and pork shoulders a good 45 minutes. Right there on the tabletop, room temp. Let them rest.
And you do that before you even wrap them up?
Before I wrap them. Yep.
Okay. Good deal. So what about tools of the trade? What is one tool that the home barbecuer needs to have?
Fire gloves.
Fire gloves, right.
Fireproof gloves. I did, when I first started construction over here in 2018, which was probably July of 2018, I would come over here and feed the neighborhood and feed the construction crew and, hang out. And then I'd always take my leftover food to one of the firehouses. Mm-hmm. And I took my food over to a firehouse, and the guy said, man, thank you very much. Here, take these. Now it's 4.5 years later, and I still have these fire gloves that he gave me because it's just, safety first.
Yeah.
Right? So, you're pulling your racks out, you're doing this, you're doing that. Fireproof gloves. I can pick up a log. I'm not going to hold it for 20 minutes, but
right.
When you're doing fire management and that kind of stuff, fire gloves.
Yeah, definitely. And the firefighters' gloves are almost indestructible, so you can put them through pretty much anything. Again, you don't want to hold it a long time. So let's get into a little bit of the secrets there from Lewis. And Lewis has got a recipe that we're going to put on the blog, but that's going to be at lowslowbbqshow.com. But tell us, Lewis, why is this your secret recipe? What is it, and why is it so important to you?
I mean, It's not really a huge secret. We make our own pickles here, and we save that juice, and we brine our turkey breasts and our chicken wings and our half chickens in it.
Right. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no worries.
Chicken, turkey, and wing. Those are, to me, the hardest to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I think brisket, pork shoulder, ribs. I actually think those are probably easier to cook than chicken because the number one thing with chicken is moistness,
Mm-hmm.
and turkey as well. Nobody likes Thanksgiving turkey because it's always dry.
Right.
Nobody likes, your biggest complaint on chicken is always going to be dry. So brining them for such a period of time, and again, we treat all our meats the same in terms of resting. They all have different time periods and such, but resting and wrapping, we wrap our half chickens individually as well. We wrap our turkey breast individually, just again to help that moistness.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting to say that here you say that the chicken's more difficult. Personally, I think the brisket's the difficult. You hear a lot of other people talk about how difficult a brisket is. It's probably also a little bit more expensive in terms of meat, but you're exactly right. How do you keep the chicken and the turkey moist? That's what probably makes it hard for a lot of people, right?
For me, I think that's, well, it's you can cook it to a perfect moisture and eat it right away, but how do you got to hold it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not cooking half chickens and turkey breasts to order, right? So, they take an hour and 45 minutes to smoke a half chicken. You're looking at 3.5, 4 hours on a 6-pound turkey breast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things that for us in our industry, feeding the masses, right? It's all about maintaining that fresh off the smoker moisture. And chicken is harder than chicken and turkey are harder than brisket and pork.
Yeah, and you got a little bit different challenge than the home cook that's just serving up to the family.
Right.
They're going to have it a little bit later. I'm not going to have my family coming in all day long looking for food every 5 to 10 minutes or all day long, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about some of your secrets. Where do you turn when you're looking for barbecue advice?
Well, I get inspiration from everybody else. I follow a lot of people, and I don't care if they're Texas or Alabama or New Orleans, Kansas City. I follow a lot of chef-driven places as well, which is a new kind of thing, in my opinion, the chef-driven barbecue.
Yeah.
You look at Heritage Barbecue, they have a pitmaster, and then they have their executive chef. And between the two of them, they put out a barbecue restaurant. So I look at that for inspiration. I would say in terms of advice, I probably go to the closest ones to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm humble, I hope, and I'm vulnerable because we all are. But I only want to share my vulnerability with certain people.
Yeah, the people you know.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Brian Furman. Ken Hess is somebody I can bounce stuff off of. There goes a school bus. And then sometimes it's just local chefs in the restaurant industry here in Charlotte. Because a lot of times, what we forget at the end of the day is that while we're, smoking meats all day, we're also restaurant owners. So there's a lot of other things that fall into place in terms of like sides and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, just running the business, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and some of those human resources things, not so much fun.
No, we don't talk about that.
Good stuff. So who else makes good barbecue in your opinion?
Everybody does. Because everybody, and I'm not going to go down this road with you because we might could fight over it. I don't like competition barbecue because that's an opinion-based barbecue.
Sure.
There's no clear defined lines on that, right?
Yeah. Personal preference.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody makes the best barbecue. I have better barbecue at some places versus others.
Yeah.
Some people do certain things better than others. I'm sure that people would say the same about me. That they may like my ribs better than my brisket, or they might like my wings better than my pork. And that's just how it is. You put 5 meats in front of somebody, they're going to have something to say about all 5, right?
Yeah.
very rarely are you going to get 100 out of 100 out of everybody.
Sure. Everybody's palate's different.
Everybody's is different. What you think is salty, I think needs more salt. What you think is vinegary, I think needs more vinegar. It's just that's the beauty of America too at the same time, right? Everybody's
definitely
their own opinion.
Different strokes for different folks. So what do you feel like is you guys have been there about 5 years at Sweet Lou's, and of course you're getting ready for the second year of the Carolina Barbecue Festival, but what's the best barbecue experience that you've ever prepared?
Wow, best that I've ever prepared? Dang, that's a tough one. That was not on the list?
No, probably not. I like to catch people off guard sometimes. You got to think, right?
I told you I was ready for anything. That's a good one. All right, I'll give it to you. So, a long time ago, many moons, now that I can say that, I lived in Hawaii, and I had a lot of good friends out there. I was at a pivotal time in life, and had a lot of good people around me. And I had the opportunity back in 2019 to take my kids. I have 2 boys. So we took a week off and went out there for Thanksgiving. And I packed up, I took some brisket with me. I took all my sauces and rubs. I took sausage with me. And then we went out and, we shopped around for some other stuff. But I got to cook for these guys that I've known for over 20 years and celebrate Thanksgiving with them. Obviously, we're not going to talk about, the venue is the most beautiful spot in the world. But being able to do that and just provide food for those that were so important to me 20 years ago and still are.
Yeah.
That was probably the best barbecue I've ever cooked.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great experience. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So, and now we're going to take it into the low and slow barbecue showdown. And these are kind of quick hitters and maybe get a little bit of explanation. Although you kind of touched on a couple of these, I'll ask them again because this is how we like to wrap it up. So your best Carolina barbecue style, Eastern or Western?
Eastern.
Gas, pellets, or charcoal?
Charcoal only.
Charcoal only. And of course, that's
3?
wood.
Yeah, wood.
Yeah.
But yeah, no pellet, no gas.
So if you're using the charcoal, you're using the wood. What is you mentioned you like oak, pecan, and hickory. Do you have a favorite of the woods?
I mean, my favorite's probably going to be hickory.
Uh-huh.
And then my obvious second would be oak. I do love pecan, but it's kind of hard to get. And it's more of a, when we're cooking, going through 2 cords of wood a week and you're running that cooker all day long, we're not managing piece by piece, right? I don't have a shop big enough to separate all 3 woods. But what we are doing is we're getting a good blend in there of heat, smoke, and then pecan is just so soft of smoke and a flavor that I think it, if you're throwing 5 logs on there and you get 1 pecan, it helps balance out that smoke, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because
it's going to be crazy smoky.
Yeah, the hickory and the oak really put out a strong smoke, right?
Yeah. And pecan doesn't put off that kind of heat because it burns so fast. And then oak holds its heat a lot better than, hickory.
Yeah. And I'm fortunate and I live in a pecan orchard. So you deal with the mess that the pecans all fall along. But, you've got those falls. You've always got a ready source for wood to put on the smoker. So that's nice. So back to the showdown. What is the best state for barbecue in these United States?
North Carolina.
There you go. Right answer. So pork, beef, or chicken?
For my meal?
Yeah.
Pork.
Also for your meal, sauce, better with or without?
Without.
And when you have the sauce, do you want it sweet or do you want it spicy?
Between those 2, I would go spicy.
What would you prefer if it wasn't sweet or spicy?
Vinegar.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, this is an important one. Barbecue, is that a verb or a noun?
That is a cooking method.
Fair enough. That's the first time we've gotten that answer, but that's a good one. And that, my friends, is the lowdown from the pitmaster at Sweet Lou's Barbecue in Charlotte and the founder of the Carolina Barbecue Festival. Again, that's coming up May 7th at Camp North End in Charlotte. Tickets are on sale now. You can get the regular price or the VIPs. Get the VIP because you're going to get a lot more stuff. Plus, you get into the food early before everybody else. You can find out more about those tickets for Carolina Barbecue Fest at carolinabbqfest.org. You learn more about Sweet Lou's at sweetlousbbq.com, and they serve barbecue in the Belmont neighborhood of Charlotte, and they can also plan your event or cater your next big party. Louis, thanks very much for joining us.
No, thank you, man. This was great. I do appreciate it.
Again, you've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Be sure to visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. You'll get recipes and notes from today's episode. You can also get other episodes and read the blogs from our podcast series. You can look for other episodes featuring the backyard barbecuer, our own tailgate experts, our food truck brisket maker. Plus, if you subscribe to the Low and Slow Barbecue Podcast, we'll deliver every new episode directly to you. Special thanks to my guest, Louis Donald. Thanks as well to Andrew Moose and the whole production team here at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Most especially, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. I'm Chigger Willard, reminding you that for the best barbecue and for the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.